extraordinaire Perrier.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, a special Saturday welcome to the Chief Strategy Officer from 360i, Lee Maicon, and the Senior Vice President and Head of Marketing and Consumer Communications from Nestlé, Tom Boudet.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Lee and myself. We're very happy to see you. We wanted to start with a video you just saw, an ad for Perrier that was created by our agency partner, Ogilvy Paris, an agency that we've been working with for many years. And the reason we want to do that is actually twofold. The first one is, what better way to start in the middle of a Saturday afternoon after a week at Cannes with a little audio-visual assault on the senses. That's the first reason we showed that. The second reason is because we feel this video expresses very clearly one of the core messages we want to leave you with today, and that is our view that the fundamentals of creative excellence and of successful brand building in general have not changed. Even in a period of digital acceleration and let's say a new digital reality. For example, the Perrier meaningful product truth of refreshing bubbles bottled at the source in a location that's just about 3 hours drive from here. We've been talking about that for 152 years. And the personality of Perrier brand, which is all about irreverence and craziness, those of you who are French know this very well. That's been the personality of the brand forever. So the fundamentals have not changed, but what has changed, and it's been radical, is the way we have to apply those fundamentals. Specifically in this case, demonstrating, I think, very clearly that it's not enough to have a rational appeal and emotional appeal. We need to, with today's technology-savvy, media-savvy consumer, we need to assault the senses.
So as the week comes to a close, it's our job, we hope, here at the edge of the festival to take a bit of a step back to try to give us a little bit of perspective on how this disruption occurs and how we can prepare ourselves for this incredible digital future and present that we're talking about. And, you know, a little bit about the title. Here we are. You've heard of cutting edge, bleeding edge. I think it's sort of incumbent on us to talk a little bit about what we mean by tales from the edge. And I think what for me is fascinating is that you can find an edge everywhere. There's one in every organization, every group, every culture. The edge is that space that's in between, and it's the moment that things change from one thing to the other. Yesterday is an example of a cultural edge for the United States, where I live, where from one day to the next, we have a massive change in the perception and the rules for how people will go forward and live their lives. That's just one example of which I'm incredibly proud. But I think this moment, moments like these, allow us to take a step back, to observe what was and what will be. And I think that's just one example of how we can see that the edge is always moving. And what was innovative, what was different a week ago, when we all arrived here in Cannes, has now entered into the mainstream. The agency of which I'm a part, 360i, has prided itself on finding that edge at the intersection of technology, of culture, and of data, and of evolving and blowing up some of the conventions of traditional marketing.
So we've had acceleration into the digital world as a business priority now for the last, I would say, 5 years, and I'm sure that's true for most of you in the audience. And we've seen some fundamental change in the company. In some cases, literally blowing up the way we do things. Now, blowing up the way you do things is never easy, but imagine a company the scale of Nestlé. We've got 300,000 employees. We've got 2,000 brands. We do business in nearly 200 markets of the world. Not a simple thing to do to blow things up. Of course, we've had executive management, leadership, and vision throughout the process. But what's been interesting, and what we're going to explain to you over the course of the presentation, is that a lot of the energy and inspiration for change came from the edges of the organization.
Yeah, and I think some would have you believe that that kind of change, that kind of transformation, that only the most dramatic of actions will do. And I think what we're going to argue that that's not what's necessary. It's not about just either assuming that the organization is going to implode, these businesses that were built before the digital era, but rather that it's not necessary to have a dramatic explosion in order to really blow shit up.
Yeah, so last month we came across this headline in one of the trade journals written by an advertising agency. And yeah, it's questioning,
Pardon me.
yeah, questioning whether survival in the digital transformation is more about revolution or evolution. The article goes on to say that revolutionists believe that everything has changed, all the old ways need to be thrown out, all the things we've grown up with have to be reinvented. Otherwise, we have no chance to connect with and to play a meaningful role in consumers' lives. Evolutionists argue that the revolutionary view is exaggerated, maybe hyped, maybe even propagated by people who have a vested interest in creating a sense of panic among advertisers. The evolutionists believe that we should calm down. The principles of successful communication and brand building are basically the same as they always have been. Maybe they just have to be slightly refined. Our view, and what we'll try to illustrate with the examples, is that neither extreme is accurate or very helpful. In fact, in today's digital transformation world, what's needed is a more nuanced approach.
So you may have noticed before, I was a little ambitious with the slides earlier, but we believe that what you need is a process of selective demolition. We believe that brands and companies that are best at navigating the digital transformation of today are really applying this thought. Now, when selective demolition is applied to a building, say, the key structural or aesthetic elements of it are kept while space is created for what's new and what's necessary. And in our industry, selective demolition can create space for us to think in new ways about responding to the change that we observe, but keeping what is core and fundamental to our business, delighting consumers and building great brands. The key, of course, is knowing what to blow away and what to keep.
Yeah, so that in fact is the question. And I would say even a more basic question to ask, whether you work for a marketer, a brand company, or an agency, is, do you believe that there are timeless fundamentals? Do you believe that there are things that were true 30 years ago that will likely be true 30 years from now? We at Nestle believe that. And we're going to share with you 3 of those today. They have to do with the way we communicate, the way we build brands, and the way we build the company. So you decide if these fundamentals are relevant to you, and if so, hopefully you take some value from the presentation. So here are the 3 fundamentals. The first one is inspire, which is about company transformation and making sure that, of course, you have vision and direction coming from the top of the organization, but you look for inspiration and energy for transformation from the edges of the company. The second one is ignite, which refers to how our brands tell their story, how they engage with consumers. Perrier was a great example of that. It's not enough to have simply rational and emotional appeals. We believe more and more strongly that we have to ignite the senses, if not assault the senses, to get consumers' attention. And the third one is impact. Impact has to do with the basic role of marketing people, which of course has always been to influence minds, connect with hearts, but also, and most important for us, is to have a positive impact on consumers' lives in a way that's valuable to shareholders. The impact component of the role description of marketing people, we feel, is more important than ever. So let's get started now, and we'll take you through the examples for each of the fundamentals. We'll start with inspiring transformation of the organization. So, yeah, Nestle, we will have been alive as a company 150 years next year. And by the way, if you were listening carefully, you might have heard me say that Perrier has been around for more than 150 years. The reason that is because Nestle acquired the brand in 1992. But we've been around a long time, and if you look at the history of Nestle, change has been evolutionary. But there are exceptions to that. There are periods of time where change is pretty transformational. If I take as an example Nespresso. Nespresso today, I think everybody knows the brand. It is the leading portion coffee brand worldwide. It basically created and established the luxury coffee sector. But what many people don't know is that 30 years ago, Nespresso was a nearly invisible project being managed by a few engineers at the edges of the organization. In the same way, when we decided a few years ago that we needed to accelerate our performance and our capabilities when it comes to digital marketing and social media, we needed to think about how to take inspiration and energy from the edges of the organization. But besides the size and scale of Nestle, what's important to understand about us is that we're very decentralized. That means if you have an ambition, in this case to accelerate digital capabilities, it simply doesn't work at Nestle to define a grand vision at the corporate headquarters and tell all the markets to follow. We needed a different way to go about things. Thus was born the Digital Acceleration Team, or DAT. Before I explain the Digital Acceleration Team concept, take a look at this headline in Ad Age, which was from October last year, and ask yourself, what do these people look like? These are members of one of the most recent digital acceleration teams. Do they look like revolutionaries? Do they look like the kind of people who insist on throwing out all the old ways of doing things? Or conversely, do they look like the evolutionists I described earlier? Do they look like the kind of people who are going to stick to the old ways of doing things and be resistant to any change whatsoever? Not surprisingly, they're neither of those two extremes. We would call them selective demolition experts, using the terminology Lee introduced earlier. So what do? We bring 12 to 15 high potential Nestle people into the digital acceleration team to work for a period of 8 months, and we basically liberate them to inspire and to change the company. So how does it work? They sit in a state-of-the-art consumer engagement center, which you see on the screen here. Next to the consumer engagement center is a multimedia content production and distribution center. It's where we also share best practices across the company. They work on very fast turnaround projects. They serve as advisors in regard to digital and social media for our global brand teams. And perhaps most importantly, they get trained very deeply in everything related to digital, but importantly, all of it anchored to the fundamental convictions we have of how to build brands. Now, most people say when we describe that to them, they say, well, that's a great idea. I suspect where you put this location, the Consumer Engagement Center, is as far away from your corporate headquarters as you can possibly get it. Because the last thing you would want to do is stick this thing in the middle of a bureaucratic corporate office. And in fact, you might be surprised to learn that we did just the opposite. We put it precisely in the corporate headquarters, one floor above where the executive board sits. It couldn't be a more classical corporate location, if you will. Why did we do that? Because again, this is selective demolition. We're not trying to blow up the old. We want to benefit from the old. We want to create a sense of osmosis where the executive board members who sit one floor above come and take inspiration and give inspiration to the DAT. And that's exactly what's happening. So what have we accomplished? We've gone through 5 DAT classes so far. We've graduated about 60 members. They've completed about 100 fast turnaround projects. The one you see on the screen here is DAT members creating recipe videos in Nestle kitchens because we want to sort of push the envelope to see how much we can have employees front and center in our consumer-facing content. The DAT concept has been so successful that we've expanded it now to 13 markets around the world, and there's more to come. So we've basically cloned the concept around the Nestle world. This is so that we can speed up the energy flow, the inspiration, and the acceleration. These guys are changing everything. One group beta tested a new internal social media platform, which now has 200,000 members, 50,000 accessing it weekly. And this has radically changed how we communicate and how we collaborate internally. These people in all the DAT centers around the world, they're continually looking around the corner at what's next. So whether it's application of 3D printing for the food and beverage industry, whether it's taking e-commerce, which we are active in e-commerce, but it's not, I would say, the core of our business, trying to move that to the core of our business. And it's always, always, always testing creative content.
You might be wondering, in an organization of 300,000 people, what impact could that have? Now, we're just one agency working with Nestle, and what I can say is that even we feel, 16 teams, 60 graduates over the course of a period of time, but even we feel the reverberations in the work that we do, and it has changed completely the ambitions of the enterprise all the way through to every brief that we get. So you can really feel the impact of that. Now moving on to our second fundamental, that of this notion of igniting a feeling to believe, stirring emotions, but also stimulating the senses. Now, you saw in the Perrier film that Tom showed at the very beginning, this that really there's an opportunity to share this almost this deep purpose of every brand that goes beyond its functional benefits, even beyond the emotional benefits of the brand, and something that can elicit an almost physiological response simply from viewing a piece of film. And, okay, so full disclosure, I'm a planner, which is a wonderful thing to be on the stage here, and to take a step back and say, we have the opportunity in this industry to think about even consumer research that can inspire great creative work in a way that's different than ever before, that gets to this almost physiological response. And great understanding of our consumers will lead to ever stronger and more powerful work. So today we can use search as a way of thinking about understanding human aspiration in a way that unlocks people's desires perhaps far better than any focus group we've ever done. We have the opportunity to tap into APIs and feeds of data that can help us unlock consumer understanding in real time better than, frankly, most quantitative research that I've done. And we have the opportunity also to use something as new as programmatic advertising buys to help us better understand what kind of copy works and what copy works and what doesn't. And these are tools, I'll have to say, that are only the beginning. We have the opportunity, as I say, to really better understand what consumers are asking for in a way that lets us leap forward. I'm going to share one example of work that started from this form of research, that of Coffee Mate, a brand that we've begun to help evolve its brand voice in the United States. And I'm going to share an old ad that served as inspiration for us from many years ago. What you'll see is perhaps something that's far more grounded in the reason to believe, much more founded in rational. And there's a bonus point for those of you in the crowd who can identify the actor in the film.
I never thought I'd like it. Then one night I was working late, needed a cup of coffee. No milk around, just Coffee Mate. I knew plenty of guys around the office used it all the time, so I gave it a shot. It makes coffee taste creamy, rich, the whole bit. Now I know why those guys like Coffee Mate instead of milk. Makes coffee taste great. And I never believed it.
Coffee Mate from Carnation. Don't doubt it. Try it.
Any thoughts on the actor? Bryan Cranston, right. Long before Walter White went down a very dark road, he helped Americans help understand how to make their coffee experience a little bit better. Coffee Mate has evolved significantly as a product. We have a new product called Natural Bliss that has just 4 ingredients. Very, very simple, very natural, which is why it's called Natural Bliss. But we wanted to use digital and other forms of communication to help people understand, feel what's different about the new product. I'm going to share a piece of work that just debuted this week.
Come on, we're serving coffee. Hey, good morning, how are you?
All right.
You okay?
All right. Oh, right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know if you noticed.
What's What is this?
So we are the All Natural Bliss Cafe.
All natural.
Exactly.
Yes, we
are surprisingly natural, as is our creamer.
All natural.
So the creamer only has 4 ingredients: milk, cream, a touch of sugar, and natural flavor.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Sure. Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. Is this coffee? Well, we're talking about
the cream to go in the coffee.
You get it. You know what's going on here. Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good. Enjoy it.
I think a bit more cream.
I just noticed what's going on right now.
We are so taking a picture. Oh, that's good.
This is a great idea. This place looks great.
We're messing with my head.
It's like the best Friday I've had in a long time.
Can I see your bum?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yay!
Nice.
This looks great.
So it's surprisingly natural, and we needed to help people understand how that was different. And just telling them probably wasn't going to be as effective at helping them feel the naked truth of this new product. So lastly, our third fundamental that we're going to discuss today, that of making a lasting impact, to change minds, to touch hearts, but also to impact lives. It's something that we talk a lot about as marketers, obviously building market share, building brands, selling products, but we have a real opportunity today to go far, far beyond. It's an expectation that I think we've set for ourselves as an industry, but also that the people who see the work that we do have set as well. The first example I'm going to share, and then Tom's going to share some other work as well, is that of Lean Cuisine, a brand that's been in the United States since 1981. And it's always been about helping primarily women reach their weight goals. But how people eat has changed significantly in a very short period of time. So the brand has invested a tremendous amount in changing its product. What we needed to do was to then think about what the impact was going to be beyond that. So let me share this piece of film and I'll talk a little bit about it.
I want you to approach the scale.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to weigh yourself?
You want me to stand on the scale?
I'm not gonna weigh you.
Awesome.
What do you feel like has been your biggest accomplishment?
This bag for me is a symbol of all the places I've been, all the things I've seen, all the cultures I've learned about.
I am 55. I am back in college. I'm creating a second chance at my life.
My amazing marriage to my husband of 24 years.
I got divorced. It was so hard, it was so sad, and I wouldn't change one thing about it.
Making Dean's List. I'm a single mom, and I work 2 part-time jobs. They had a ceremony, and I got to take my kids on stage with me. I have so many obstacles in my way while going to school, and I let them know, no matter what you do, don't let anything stop you. Mommy was able to do this.
Definitely my children would be my biggest accomplishment.
I love lifting weights because I feel strong. I feel empowered.
I was able to give my bone marrow to my sister.
This is one of the cards that says, thank you for my life. I wouldn't have life if it wasn't for my sister.
All right, let's put it on the scale.
Okay.
What does it weigh?
It's just not measurable. You just can't measure it.
I'm more proud of what I'm doing than what my weight is, please.
Share how you want to be weighed with #WeighThis. The new Lean Cuisine, here to feed what really matters to you.
Thank you. Thanks. The work debuted just a few days ago as part of this new effort in the brand. It's already been viewed by nearly 5 million people, and we've already been able to measure a measurable impact in people's perception of the brand. Something that we're very proud of, not only because it communicates the purpose of the brand, something that we think is important, but as it's less about the fat and the calories that we take out, but what people eat is about what it empowers them to do. Lean Cuisine, if it's to grow and evolve, really wanted to be a part of that. And so for that, we're very proud of impacting people's lives in that way.
So the last example before we wrap up is also very much centered on the idea of impacting consumers' lives in a positive way. It's called United for Healthier Kids. And this is an initiative that started a couple of years ago when we decided as a company that we wanted to accelerate our contribution to the health and wellness of children worldwide. Through nutrition, of course, that's our core business, but through other means where we have expertise or knowledge to help solve a problem. You well understand that the demographic of children suffer all too often from overweight, obesity, or on the other end of the continuum, undernourishment, depending on where you are in the world. So we decided to do that, and we understood three things from the beginning. One is that parents are ultimately responsible for their children's health and wellness. However, the food industry has an important role to play, but we can do the best job to contribute positively to children and parents if we achieve collaboration with other stakeholders who somehow touch parents and children. That includes the government, health officials, other private enterprise, NGOs, whatever it happens to be. So we created this initiative called United for Healthier Kids in order to create this movement, this collective effort. I'm going to show you a video in a second, which was from Mexico. The work, again, was done by Ogilvy, both the Paris office and Ogilvy, Mexico, and the Nestle Mexico local team. But two things I want to point out. This initiative respects all the fundamentals that we covered previously, but it tries to blow up two traditionally held beliefs about health and wellness in the food industry. The first one is that at best, the food industry should work to minimize their negative contributions. In other words, minimize the extent to which they're part of the problem, then just get out of the way and leave it up to leave it up to government and health officials to solve the problem. That's the first thing we want to blow up. Second, traditionally held belief is that by providing healthier products, providing nutrition education and education about physical activity, that is enough to get the job done. We have learned, and we believe based on experience, while those things are really, really important, it also takes creative application of behavioral science. So let's have a look at the video.
Mexico now has the most obese population in the entire world.
The epidemic here is worse than previously estimated.
Organizations say because of the obesity epidemic,
that our children are on track to be
the first generation of kids that are going to lead a shorter lifespan than their parents.
It was time to make a change. That's why Nestle created United for Healthier Kids, the largest initiative ever to change the habits of an entire country in a playful new way. How? We partnered with Televisa, the biggest TV network in Latin America, to create a new type of reality TV show that would help change Mexico's future. Introducing Hermosa Esperanza, the 6-month journey of 5 Mexican families trying to change their eating habits. To help them succeed, we asked the entire country to support them. Pediatricians, nutritionists, psychologists, celebrities, even the most well-known lucha libre champion in the country. We coached the families and taught them the importance of changing habits. And we even created a revolutionary line of products that help kids adopt healthy behaviors in a creative way, like a set of 3-dimensional story plates that turns meals into adventures, a juicer you can wrestle with, and many more. After a few weeks, the families began choosing healthier foods, managing their portions, and started taking part in more physical activity. We then asked everyone to unite online to support the families and contribute healthy ideas. United for Healthier Kids became a huge hit. Millions of Mexican families, celebrities, news outlets, pop stars, even Mexico's Secretary of Health joined the movement.
Nestlé y la Secretaría de Salud lanzaron el programa Unidos por Niños Saludables.
Hermosa Esperanza drew in more than 30 million viewers and was nominated for Best Standalone Program in the Premios TV y Novelas, the Mexican Emmy Awards. 3 million people participated on the online platform and supported the cause on social media. But most importantly, we showed an entire country that living a healthier lifestyle can also be fun.
So as we end our talk and near the end of the festival, Tom and I both would like to leave you with something of a question. The question we started with earlier, which is how do we all innovate at the edges that we live with every day? So please remember, whether it's organizational change, like the digital acceleration teams that we all have the opportunity to put into our own businesses, or to ignite feeling to believe, like you saw in the work from Perrier or from Coffee Mate, or perhaps most importantly, improving lives, like you just saw with Lean Cuisine or United for Healthier Kids. Please think, what will you keep and what will you blow away? I look forward to being here a year from now and seeing how each of the people in this room has taken the opportunity to write their own tales from the edge. Thank you.
Thank you.